we go. It's the first night of the SCWA annual conference, and we're live once again with 3 authors who are attending the conference and all have books to tell you about. So thanks for being with us. We're going to get right to it. These are right on SC Author Interview. Hi, Barbara.
Hey.
It comes up quick, doesn't it?
It does. Wow.
How are you? Welcome, Barbara Evers, young adult novelist. You've got giraffes in your books, which like stuns me to my core. So tell us a little bit about the books that you're writing and how people can find them and what they can, how they can purchase them and support you.
Okay, so I actually didn't set out to write YA, but everybody's taking it as YA. So I goes to show you, don't worry about what your genre is. Because I'll figure it out for you. But it's epic fantasy, but it does appeal to the YA audience. But I've had a lot of adults who are really, really loving it and saying, hey, even if you don't read fantasy, even if you don't read YA, you're going to love this. The concept is a young princess who is trained as a warrior. In her kingdom, it's a matriarchal kingdom, and she's trained as a warrior. And she is to follow her mother into, the throne at some point. They call it the seat of authority in Manaya. And the warriors are called watchers. And so what's happening in the story is she's more than happy just being a watcher right now and learning how to be a watcher and learning how to connect to her giraffe telepathically. All the royal family have giraffes, but her mother is dying. And she's like, no, I'm going to make a deal with the creator, and the creator's going to save her, and I get to be just, little Adana the Watcher a lot longer. But of course, Mama dies. And so she discovers at this point that there was a prophecy from a watcher, and the prophecy was that her mother would die, and that Adana, if she was to remain in her kingdom until she was of age to reign, because she's not quite of age yet, something horrible will happen to her. And so they send her away. Her mother created this whole decree that on my deathbed, you're sending her to the allied kingdom of Elwar, and she's going to stay there till her 18th birthday when she comes back and be queen. And it's because of a traitor who was supposed to be dead, and he's not, and he's after her throne. So, and she finds out all of this. She figures out he's alive before she hears about the decree because of a weird kind of journey that her telepathic connection with her giraffe takes her on in the first chapter. So all of a sudden she's like, that looks like Malagon. And he's supposed to have been dead 20 years. And I don't know what he looks like, but that's what he's supposed to look like. So she's a little flipped out about it. And it's her journey to Elwar and, what Malagon's doing during all this time, and it's a trilogy. So you've got I don't know if it'll show up with my camera well or not. This is let me get it rolling. The Watchers of Manaya. This is the first book, and you can see giraffes back there in the background. And
that Manaya,
M-O-N-I-A. This is the Watchers in Exile. This is book 2. Yeah, she actually does end up on the back of the giraffe one time, okay? And it's a dire situation. It's the only reason why she's up there, because believe me, you don't want to ride on the back of a giraffe.
I'm literally going to have to take your word for that. Like, I'm just going to have to take your word for that.
Well, if you look at the back of a giraffe, it's not flat like a horse. It floats. And then this is the third cover. I love this cover, The Watchers at War. And there's actually Adana and 2 other characters who have this incredible story arc that I actually was thinking about them for the parts that I was able to tune in for Patty Callahan, Henry's thing. I was thinking about those 2 because they're secondary characters. And somebody asked about that near the end, and I'm like, oh yeah. And my secondary characters have, these conflicts and these desires and these wants, and it all fit into what she was talking about. Unfortunately, I kept getting pestered by kids because we had e-learning today, and I didn't get to. I'm hoping somebody took some really good notes because it sounded like a really great session, what I did here.
Well, so I'm glad you brought it up because the SCWA conference, it started today, right? And there's still time to join. And if people are willing to pay that fee to get in and be part of the conference, all of these sessions are recorded and they'll be available for 60 days afterwards. So even if you miss something, you can go back and watch the whole thing again, which is super cool. Like you wouldn't have that in a real face-to-face. So I know we're all sort of missing the face-to-face, but I'm also like, yeah, but we have these super cool Zoom recordings that you can see later. And so you don't have to choose between sessions because either one that you missed, you can always go back and see it later. Talk a little bit about your affiliation with SCWA because you lead the Greenville chapter, and I know you've been a member of the group for a long time. How has it helped you in your writing?
You know, it's kind of interesting. I joined SCWA in 2007, and I had been looking for a writing group for years, and they've been here. I just didn't know about it. But that year with the conference, they actually ran an ad in Writer's Digest. And I, at that time, was a subscriber to Writer's Digest. So I'm like, oh my gosh. So I looked at it and I was like, oh my goodness, they have local chapters. Oh my gosh, there's a chapter. And it just turned out that the conference chair was a member of the Greenville chapter back then.
Oh, that's great.
So I mean, I got all sorts of information. I came to the conference that year. I joined the organization. I was working on the Watchers of Mania back then. And, it was really incredible to sit there and bring that into my writing group and have them say, oh, this is pretty good, Yeah. Over time, I learned a lot. I knew a little bit, but I learned a whole lot about point of view and about marketing and about, agents and, who to be aware of and who to be wary of. And just the whole support group. It's really a lot of fun. And I've been leading the Greenville chapter now for about 10 years. They're my family. We talk about Writer Tribe. They are my family. They are my Writer Tribe. And, if we have a few people who, due to COVID, haven't been able to come to meetings and they just don't, we're doing it on Zoom, but some of them are like, I just can't fit it in, and I miss them. I really, really miss them. So it's great to have that. And then, because of the conference, I met you several years ago, and the other Kasie.
And the other Kasie, that's right. Little shout out, Kasie LaCourte.
Kasie LaCourte, yeah. And we were David B. Coe's little, I don't know what we call him.
His entourage up in Charlotte, yeah.
So, but that was a lot of fun. And I don't know if I would be where I am with these 3 books published if it wasn't for SCWA, to be honest with you, because they gave me the information, the connections I needed.
There's just no better endorsement than that. Thank you so much, Barbara. So it's called The Watchers of Mania is the name of the series. All 3 books are available now, and people can go to your website and learn more about it, and they can purchase those books. Where would you prefer they purchase them?
They're available on Amazon, and if you're local to South Carolina, I'm in the upstate, so Fiction Addiction in Greenville does have copies of them. Hub City Bookshop in Spartanburg has copies. And actually, Bookmarks in Winston-Salem has copies too. But the rest of it, you can do it online and at Amazon.
Yes. Let's shout out and love for our indie booksellers. So thank you so much, Barbara. Hang out backstage. And when we get, after we talk to Carolyn and Jim, we'll all get together and have a little talk around about how much we love the SCWA.
Okay.
All right. We'll see you in just a second. All right, coming up next, our one of our patrons of our show, right on SC, Carolyn Hartley. I'm going to welcome her to the program. Hi, Carolyn. How are you?
Hi, Kasie. I'm having a great time. Thank you. Thanks for letting me come in and chat with you a little bit.
Yeah, look, so SCWA has been good to you too. And I meant to mention when I was talking to Barbara, both of you have led these writing conversations that happen in the middle of the day on Tuesdays. And both of them tremendously successful. Barbara actually helped me write my pitch for Pit Mad, which is super cool. And now Carolyn helped us learn a little bit more about nonfiction publishing and opportunities there. So SCWA has been helping you out. You're a member of the Lexington crew. What did they help you do in the fiction space? Let's talk about that book.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Hey, Kasie, I'm a member of the Irmo Chapin crew.
Oh,
I gotta
sorry.
make sure I say that. Shout out just in case they're watching it. And I got a chance to say hi to all of those guys. Oh my gosh, they are so supportive in the editing. That's what I look for most of all. They hold me accountable because I know I can find a lot of other things to do, but I want to be held accountable to produce at least 5 to 7 pages every time we meet, which means I can continue writing and then bring whatever I think I need to have them chop apart. So they are my free editorial people, and it's just been great to be part of the SCWA as well.
And you've got a historical fiction book. It's called Redemption.
It does, yeah. So I've been very successful in writing nonfiction, and I've had, a couple of bestsellers. I had one book that sold 75,000 copies. Can you believe that? So out of all of those, experiences, the one thing that I have not had a chance to do is to go back to my fiction roots. And so that's what I'm doing with Redemption. It's part one of a trilogy. It's a story about. Can I tell you a little bit about the story?
Please do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a story about a young girl who is a child of another father. Her father dies, mom remarries, and so here she is. The story opens with her stepfather trying to find a way to drown her. So this is the flood of 1927. This girl, her name is Adele Christina Dawson. She keeps getting in the way of the stepfather and the mother trying to start their own family. So his way of getting rid of her is to just lock her up in an attic when the floods are coming in, and they're right by the Mississippi River, so the flood waters are rising, and she can't get out. So he comes along with a raft, and he rescues Mama, but he leaves her alone. So it's to drown. So the story then continues with them unsuccessfully becoming acrimonious partners in trying to raise 10 children, 10 siblings. And along the way, this is the Depression, and they're going through farming, and then the downfall, the banks fail. And so they just have all these problems going on, and they're together, but they're fighting all the time. And then Adele finally says, I've had it. I got to grow up. I got to go back and find my grandmother. And so now Pa, or August Beck, is trying to keep her from leaving. And he is, I had a literary agent who told me the first time I submitted it to them, to the agent, he said, you cannot kill Pa. He's got to be the bad guy through 3 stories at least. So hard as I tried to get rid of him, I want to knock him off. But now he's in all 3 of the trilogies, and he just keeps getting into so much trouble. So
Yeah. Well, that's anyway, good though. It's good to have a default bad guy. That's always perfect.
Yeah. Well,
hey, we have a question from Facebook. James Richter asks what your tips are for staying motivated to write and be creative, and also maybe break through writing blocks. And that goes for Barbara and Jim too. So when I bring you guys up, be prepared to answer that question. Tips for staying motivated. What do you think?
Oh my gosh, my friends keep me motivated. I read Facebook, and I've got little posts every once in a while that say, wow, this is a great book. That keeps me motivated. Besides that, I just like to lie. So I can't do that in nonfiction,
No, that's true.
Life. Nobody wants to hang out with you. So the only way you can do it is to write fiction. And so it's pop in, and ordinarily in real life, I have to tamp it down. You can't say that, you can't say that. But when I'm writing fiction, there it is. It's popped down. I can do anything I want to.
All great storytellers love to lie. Like there's just that little piece of exaggeration, right?
That's right.
Our little shout out to Brian Williams, and like, we hear you, dude. We hear you. It's cool.
That's a great question, because I think every writer needs to know, where do you go? How do you stay motivated? How do you show up to work every day?
I think so too.
So there's all kinds of things.
Talk about the marketing of the book and the effort to sell it, because I know that becomes a thing. We become authorpreneurs, and we've got a lot of work to do.
Kasie, so what I did so the marketing of the book has been through social media, through friends, through Facebook, through Amazon ads, through keywords, learning keywords. Oh my gosh, that is a trail all by itself. And then trying to figure out the Amazon secrets to promoting your book. It boils down to making sure you get reviews. You got to have at least 25 or more reviews, which we finally achieved. And then coordinating marketing pushes with friends, family, and writers. So we just finished on April 1st and April 2nd, which in my mind is the grandmother's birthday, April 1st, of course, that, right? So April 1st is the grandmother's birthday, and we did a huge promotion to say happy birthday to Ketty Dawson, the grandmother.
The fictional person.
She's my baby, I mean, I get to be whatever. So we did this promotion and pushed it, and there's so many people who pushed really hard to make sure that we sold as many books during those 2 days, and we got to number one. We got to number one on Amazon. And it was only there for 2 hours, but by golly, it was number one for 2 hours. And I'm running that baby.
Yes, absolutely.
That one for a while. We had to kind of take issue with Amazon's math algorithms, but we finally got them to admit that their algorithms were a little bit off. So
nice. Well, so now your press, because the website I'm showing is J. Merrill Press, and you're currently accepting submissions, right? So tell people what you're looking for.
Yeah, I'm looking for something really specific. I'm looking for stories about women who have faced adversity and emerged with courage. Nice. So whether it can be a young adult, it can be a biography, it can be a poetry collection, but that's got to be the main theme. And that is women who have faced adversity and emerged with courage.
Excellent. Well, look, I look forward to hearing more about the success of the press and definitely the success of Redemption. And I know there's another book coming sometime this year in the fall.
And I just got a name for it. It's called Buried Sunshine.
Nice.
Buried Sunshine. Good stuff. So it's almost done. It goes to the editor pretty soon, and it'll be out by the end of this year. After listening to Alexa on publishing a book, I was going to have it out in July, and I went, I'm going to have to do a little bit more and do it right this time.
Look, she was kind, and Alexa
was very kind.
Published like a pro. She made mention of people who launched their book too fast, and she was talking about this guy. Like she was literally talking about Kasie, and she was so kind to not mention Kasie as being like this was a big fuck up, and it was like straight Kasie. But anyway, it's cool. She goes, sometimes people have different goals. I'm like,
you speak for all of us. So
we're coming out of it. We're gonna do it right on the next one. So Carolyn, hang out backstage. I'm gonna chat with Jim for just a second, and we'll talk to you in just another minute. Thank you for being here.
Good.
All right,
Kasie.
Okay. Last but not least, hi Jim.
Hi Kasie, how you doing?
I'm so great. It's it's Friday night, right? Like we've all been boozing since I don't know.
Yes,
8 o'clock. So it's great. It's good to see you. Thank you for being here. I've got your website up too. Jim Furry, tell us a little bit about your book and what you've got going on out there. What is your writing gift? You're the only one of the three that I don't know extraordinarily well. So let's get to know each other.
Yeah, I've been a member of South Carolina Writers Association for several years, but I've also been a member of Southeastern Writers Association, and I think and I've also been to a couple years of Romance Writers Association up in Norfolk. So
nice.
I think eclectically you get different viewpoints and different information from different people. But I started out actually. I'm a retired FBI agent, and I started out writing an autobiography because I have 5 granddaughters and 2 grandsons, and FBI agents are notoriously for having heart attacks and dying. So I wanted my grandkids to know, in case something happened to me, what I did when I was in the FBI. And it is
give me the title of that book real quick, and I'll put it up on the screen.
Sure. It's
Fidelity, Bravery, and Integrity.
Yep.
All right. Cool. All right. Keep going.
And I originally did it for my family and friends, and then I had other agents that came along and said, "Why don't you publish it?" I said, "Well, yeah," but surprisingly, I've sold over 400 books, mostly on going out and doing book signings.
Right.
And it's on Amazon, and it's on Kindle, and I like my website. I like getting it on my website because I will hand sign every one that comes through my website. So
Yep.
That's a little bonus. A lot of people like to have signed copies. So
Yeah.
that's
a
one.
good marketing effort, like to convince people to buy through your website. I will actually sign it and mail it to you if you buy it through my website. That's a great idea.
Yes. So going to the romance writers conferences, then we had a friend that we knew up there, and she said, "Come on up." And I said, "Yeah, right." But I got to know some people up there, and I got to find out some things. So I was always interested in doing short stories. So I come up with this Love's Peculiar Nature. You just get that one.
Yeah, I can see it.
And
Sweet.
it's five short stories. And I made one big mistake. I thoroughly enjoyed writing it, a little less editing it, but I enjoyed the whole thing, the whole process. And then I let some people that were in romance writers take a look at it, and they say, "No, you can't be romance." I said, "Why?" They said, "Because you don't know the protocol. Your endings come out totally wrong. You can't have a romance that doesn't have a happy ending."
That's
And
right.
all five of my short stories have unusual endings, and the last one is called A Train Wreck, and it won first prize in Southeast Writers Association. It's a story about a guy who his wife walks away from him, and he's totally depressed. He's in terrible circumstance and mentally, and he decides what he's going to do is just going back and forth from work. He bumps into this woman on the train going over to New York. And so then he only sees her once, but there was something about her, and he had been depressed for so long. He thought, "Oh man, here's somebody I'm interested in." So he goes painstakingly, one challenge after another, keeps riding the same train every day, trying to find her again. And finally, pouring down rain, he's on the train, and he leans over to tie his shoes and shoestrings, and he sees the pumps that she wore the first time. So then he's scurrying around trying to find her, and finds out she likes art in the New York Public Library. And then so he makes kind of a, I like art too, and he goes in the library, and finally they talk on the train back and forth. Finally he says, he gets her a rose, and he goes into the library to present her with a rose, and she looks up and she goes, "Oh, I'm married. I thought you knew I was married." Which blows his world apart. It completely blows his world apart. And so he gets up and goes tearing off, heading back to the subway, and she frantically goes after him because he never gave her enough time to tell him that she was planning on leaving her husband, and she really liked him. And so she gets on the subway, and she's going car to car looking for this, and all of a sudden the subway goes screeching halt, boom. And the last line of the story is, the people out front said that somebody jumped in front of the train.
No, what's wrong with you? Look, dude, look. So Carolyn just said in chat, she said, "You are a French writer."
Is that what that is?
She said, "You're a French writer, depressing endings." Like, I think you apparently just missed your genre by just a little bit. So yeah, like there are conventions to these genres, right? So if you start playing around with romance, they're going to say to you, "You got to have a happily ever after, man." That's what people are looking for. So did you feel like, so these stories, most of us, we kind of write out of the place that we know, right? Your very first one was out of a place that you knew. When you started writing the Love's Peculiar, what did I say? It was Love's Peculiar Nature. When you start writing these, are these stories things of is this real life and then fictionalized and put into the book, or this is completely out of your imagination?
No, it's funny. For me, I start thinking about something that pops up, like the first one, and I don't want to give them all away, but the first one, I was dreaming, and I was dreaming about this man that got on a train and he saw a box, right? And so later in the morning, like 3:05 in the morning, right? I wake up and I say, well, what if he just had so much curiosity, he decided to look in the box. And he looks in the box and there's a little baby in the box.
Huh.
So it starts out, he's trying to figure out whether somebody abandoned a baby in a box. And I started out by I was going to name it Baby in a Box, so I ended up, the name of the story was Abandoned Love. And so I just start with that kernel, and then the tree just took its own, the leaves went up and the branches went up, and at the end it's kind of neat how the whole thing ends up. But
like all writers, you get preoccupied with something, right?
I love the adventure of writing these short stories. I just loved writing them. I said to myself, what can happen next? And then it happened. But there was one that happened to me in college that I did. It was Unorthodox was the name of that one. I'm going to give them all away here, but
No, don't do that, because we want to encourage people to go out and buy them. So they're on your website, and if they buy it from your website, you'll autograph it and send it to them, right?
I sign them and ship them. Yep.
That's good stuff. Look, I'm going to bring Barbara and Carolyn back because I want us all to talk about the conference and what we're going to get out of the conference this week, right? So real quick, and we're kind of in like a round robin now. So I'm going to go down to Carolyn and then Barbara, and then, well, actually, let's go back to Barbara first because we talked to you first in the first place. And then we'll go Jim and then Carolyn. So Barbara, talk about the conference and being part of this. You've been to multiple conferences.
Right.
This one's a little different because it's Zoom, but what are you expecting to get out of it? What are you looking forward to the most?
Actually, I'm more interested in the nonfiction parts this time around.
Really?
Yeah, I blog. I have two different blogs, and one of them is kind of it's a bit of my life story, and looks at some of the horrible things that happened in my life. And I really am curious there's one about, looking something in your bathing suit. I can't remember the title of it. Do you remember?
Oh, that's the Bell Boggs one at noon tomorrow. Yeah.
I definitely want to attend that one because I'm very curious. Some of the things that are in here, I'll probably go in because I'm like, it's a danger when you've already been published to go, oh, I don't need that. But you always can get something new. You always can. And so I'm going to, attend as many of the sessions as I can, but I'm really excited about that one from Bell Boggs.
I'm excited for you. Yeah. And I think that one's going to be a good one. I'm planning to attend that one myself as well. Yeah. So Jim, what do you think? What are you looking forward to this weekend over the weekend?
Oh, well, I'm trying to get as many packed in. We just came off a really good character. It was a really nice presentation and a lot of interaction, and I'm looking forward to more of that. I'm looking for the other keynote speakers. I've already talked to an agent, so it's pretty exciting. It's pretty exciting what's going on, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow to see what I can get into.
It's such a great opportunity. And yeah, that was Patty Callahan Henry's session that we went through tonight that was about character development. And it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. And again, exactly to Barbara's point, once you've already been published, you kind of think like, that's good, I got it. But Patty said she's got 50 novels and she's still going to conferences and she's still learning stuff and she's still sharpening her craft. And so that should teach us all that, like, we don't know everything. Carolyn, what about you? What are you hoping to get out of the conference?
There's two things in particular. First of all, I love the art of poetry. I cannot write poetry, but there's so much color and poets paint with words like the rest of us don't, and I love to tap into that. And the second thing is that it holds me accountable. Yeah. So if I'm with other writers, and I know I'm going to have a day coming up next week where it's going to be uncomfortable for me to be writing, I still am going to write because I've already committed myself to my friends that I'm going to produce something. So that's my accountability. I loved Alexa. Is that right? Am I saying her name?
Yeah.
Alexis?
Yeah. Alexa.
Alexa, who I see is
Yeah,
great.
Alexa Big Wharf. Yeah, so she did the
If
Publish Like a
anybody
Pro.
wants to know, she banged a bunch of information into that 60-minute presentation. So if anybody has any question about should I publish on my own or whatever, that's something that they should access.
Yeah, and it's such a benefit that this is a virtual conference because, like I said, there's the recordings and you have access to them for 60 days. And so if you get sort of freight trained like we did in Alexa's session, and then you can come back and watch it again and you can get some information later. And that's really, really helpful. Wherein usually in our face-to-face conferences, there's no recordings available. And so it's over. You get what you can while you're there and then you get nothing else. So the value here is just tremendous. And the other thing I think is interesting is it's cheaper than normal conferences because we're not all going there and paying for food. And yet we're getting and you can see all the sessions too, because you can hit the recordings even after you didn't I don't understand why this is a cheaper conference than normal conferences. But it is, it's a big secret and they shouldn't do it again. They should be this is more expensive because you get twice as much content. But anyway, okay, look, all three of you members of SCWA, is that right, Jim? Are you a member of SCWA? Yeah. So this is a great organization. I appreciate you all for being here, being part of our live session. Thank you for supporting our show right on SC. And of course, thank you for coming on here and sharing your work with me. I'm so grateful to you. And if there's ever anything I can do to promote you in any way whatsoever, by all means, reach out. The writing in South Carolina is so underrated, and we really are the storytelling state. So thank you so much for being part of this.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. You'll have a great rest of your weekend, and we will see you around. Got all of you on the live stream as you're watching now. We will be live streaming again on Saturday at 2 p.m. We have 3 more authors to talk to at 2 p.m. on Saturday. And then Saturday night at 8 p.m., we'll be talking to our conference director, Amber, and learning about the conference in general and how things are going and doing a little bit of a wrap up there. So thanks everybody for being part of this, and we will see you on Saturday.